Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Solid Edge 2020 built-in data management. And as we go through this, we're going to hit these topics. We're going to talk about how to set up the Solid Edge built-in data management. We're going to talk about how to utilize BIDM fast search capabilities using indexing. We're going to look at working in the data management tab. And then we're going to talk about managing the life cycle of our files. So let's get started. So to start with the setup of our built-in data management, what we're going to do first is we're actually going to go down to the Windows tab. We are going to scroll down till we get to S for Siemens Solid Edge 2020. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to choose this Choose PDM Integration. And this is actually our application launcher. So right now I have Team Center Integration for Solid Edge, or SDEC, selected, but for built-in data management, I'm going to select the Solid Edge with File Management, and then go ahead and click Exit. Then we're going to open up Solid Edge and get started. So before we really get into using the built-in data management in Solid Edge, we do have a few things to set up first. So what we're going to do is when we have our Solid Edge open, go up to the Application button, and then down to Settings, and then over to Options. So actually our Solid Edge Options has a new tab here. It's called Manage. This is actually just for the Solid Edge data management, So when we turn that on, we're going to have a couple tabs here at the top, right? So we have Vault Definition, Custom Properties, Document Naming Tools, Lifecycle, and Workflow. And we are going to walk through how to use all of those and what they all mean. So for the Vault Definition tab, this is where we are going to choose the folder that contains all of the files that we want to be indexed. Okay, so we can apply fast search for those. So all we have to do is go over to Add, go out to our file location, mine is this CAD data folder. So since I have my folder selected now, I can select that, and it'll be added in this box right here. I am going to make sure that I enable distribution file access when using the replication services. I'm going to make sure that that's turned on. Now we're going to go to the next tab, this Custom Properties tab. So in this Custom Properties tab, this is going to say that yes, I do have custom properties in my Solid Edge files that I would like to perform fast search on. Below we have the property seed file that has already been selected. All we want to make sure is that our user templates is turned off. And then if we come down here to the Set Custom Properties, so this collects all of the custom properties from the default templates in the prop seed text file. So we'll just make sure we click on that. So now what we're going to do is we are going to click on the View Custom Properties. We're going to get a list that pops up, and all we have to do is just exit out of that. So then when we click this Rebuild Index, that is going to add all those Solid Edge files within the specified location to the local Windows search index. So what that's going to do for us is it is going to actually allow us to search for those custom properties after we index all of our files. So the next tab we're going to be moving to is the Document Naming Role tab. So in this tab, what I can do is define the increment values and also set the automatic revision as well as update my document name. So from here, I can actually enter in a prefix if I want. I'm going to do MM- for this example, and I'm going to turn on my revision numbering as well as my document name. And from here, you can go in and actually make this from an underscore to a dash if you want. You can exclude characters such as Q. And in the document name, I can actually edit this formula if I don't want it to be this long and complicated. I can just hit edit formula. I can clear this out. And if I just wanted this to be the file name, I can drop that down, hit add, and OK. And now I have defined the increment values as well as defined my automatic revision and my document numbers. So our next step is we're going to move to the lifecycle tab. So in this tab, we're going to be defining the locations for the pre-released, the released, obsolete, and standard parts documents. So here we can see that we do have our pre-release documents, and I already have set up the appropriate folders in my vault to work with the documents I want to sort by the appropriate permissions. So when I go to my pre-release documents, I can double click that to define the location, and you can see that we are in my vault. And for this one, I'm going to choose this WIP and say select folder. For the release documents, I'm going to go to the released folder and select that folder. For the obsolete documents, I'm going to go to that obsolete folder. And for my standard parts, mine is called hardware. I'm going to select that folder. So now you can see that it's in this box down here. It says show checked status below in Design Manager and Property Manager. We have all those turned on, which is great. And then below that, we're just going to make sure that both of these boxes are checked on. So we're going to automatically obsolete previous revisions while releasing a file. And then we're also going to automatically set the draft status to match the status of the part placed in the drawing. Okay, and now we have our life cycle set up. So the last tab we need to work on is workflow. So under the workflow tab, what we can see is my email, actually, and this is because I have been defined as a reviewer. So using the workflow functionality, Solid Edge data management users can quickly go through the engineering change management process by either sending emails to the appropriate chain of command or with a quick release. So my email is there because I have created the Active Directory to define me as a reviewer. So I will be getting the email when something is released so that I can approve it before it gets released out into the system. So this concludes setting up the built-in data management options in Solid Edge. It didn't take very long at all. It's very easy and straightforward. The next thing we're going to work on is how to index our files and then how efficient the fast search function is for the built-in data management tool. So to index my files, it's actually very easy. I just come down to the Windows tab over here, search index. It's going to be the indexing options. And from here, my CAD data is already selected. You can see right now it's actually indexing. Okay. So users need to index the files in their vault in order to extract the content from the files and build an indexing catalog to make searching easy and efficient. So you can index several files at once, and when the indexing is done, the tool will change from index speed is reduced due to user activity to indexing complete. And then we can just close it out when it's done. Now that we've indexed our files, the next step is to look at how we can utilize fast search. So there are two ways that we can fast search for our data. We can either do so in Solid Edge, or we can do it so in Windows Explorer. So to do so in Solid Edge, we just come up to the Browse, and I'm going to go to my CAD data, so my vault again. Now I'm going to hit Search. Alright, so this is the search window that'll come up. there is a drop down here for save searches. And then the next drop down is the file location that your search is going to look in. So I have mine set to my vault. You can browse out to whatever folder you want though. And I also have my search for results and subfolders turned on, which is perfect. These buttons down here are to clear the criteria or clear all, which will also clear your look-in group right here. And under that, you can see that I have property types as well as criteria. So for this property, I can actually double click and drop this down. And I can adjust what type of property I want to look at. So if I want to say files of type, I can enter that. And for this criteria, I can actually enter ASM and hit search. And it is going to find all of those files with the criteria and the property that I'm looking for. All right. If I left click on any of these, I'm going to get a search preview. I can also open the property manager from here if I want to. Okay. So if I want to open any one of these, I can just double click. And from there, it will open up my Solid Edge assembly file. Now, if I wanted to do the same thing, but in Windows Explorer, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this Grinder 1 assembly. Go down to Windows. I'm going to go out to my Vault again. So I'm in my CAD data. And in the search bar over here, I can actually search for Grinder and hit enter. And it is going to search all of those. It's going to search through all those files that I have indexed. I can actually right click to add more columns that I want. So if I go down to more, maybe I want to add some columns that are specific to, say, my workflow history. So if I type in SE, I go down to SE status. I'm also going to turn on my SE workflow history, SE workflow reviewer, and SE workflow title, and click OK. And now we can see that I've added more columns. And for my SE status, I can actually show that these are available. And I'm going to come back in here and show you what a released file looks like. But for now, I'm just going to double click on this Grinder 1 assembly and open that up. So that's how we use Windows Explorer to fast search for our files. So the next thing on the agenda is to go over the Data Management tab. So the Data Management tab is actually the last tab in our ribbon at the top. We're going to go over most of these functions. So starting on the left-hand side in this document status group, we have this display status. So this shows the document status information. This update status info updates the status information for the selected items. But as I toggle this display status on and off, you can see that the locks are toggled off when it's off and on when they come back on. And actually, if I highlight over that, that little unlock button means available. And if I go to the long-term checkout group here and I check this model out, you can see that that lock actually changed to a pencil. And if I highlight over that, it does in fact say checked out to you in work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and check that back in. And we're going to go over a couple other functions. So right next to the document status group, we do have an open drawing right here. So this will open the drawing that's associated with the document you have open. We also have where used. So if I actually select that, we'll open up my file name. It says no where used documents because this is the only one. All right, we have a couple columns in here that talk about SE status as well as the author. and the location. So we're going to go ahead and say OK. For this save as, we do have a drop down for a couple different save as types. We can do save as image, save as translated, save for tablet, all right, or save the selected model. In the revision group, we can update the revision from here. If I just left click on revisions, and for the revision comment, I can say update overall length. And then I can hit new here. You can see that if I slide this over, the revision number will now be B instead of A. And I can validate that and save it. And now if we look over in the Pathfinder, I have a grinder 1-B assembly. All right. In the revisions group, we also have the get latest. So this offers the newest revisions that are available in the vault, and no new revisions are found, so that's good. Okay, so we kind of talked about the long-term checkout group. Again, it's just as easy as left-clicking on checkout and left-clicking on check-in. For the properties group right here, we do have file properties. We have a couple tabs along the top. If we go to status, we can actually see the status of our assembly as well as the other parts in our assembly. Okay, so we can go as far down as we want. Maybe this flange 1, we want to change that to in work. So it's going to change that flange 1 is by Grace Pharo, and you can see that it's in work by me. Okay, we can also make some of these obsolete if we want to. This clamp 1, we're going to say that's obsolete. Okay. We also have the opportunity to select all of them and technically make them all obsolete if we want to, but I'm not going to do that. There's also the reset all, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. But there are some other parts in here maybe for like generating a bill of materials that would be helpful. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of that. So right next to file properties, we do have the property manager. And if we open that up, my property manager is set to bomb view. So I'm going to go ahead and open my sub-assemblies. And all of the white columns that you see, we can actually go in there and edit any of these. Okay, so maybe I want to update a comment. I can just double click in there and enter in a new comment. Then I can say OK. I also do have a physical properties right here, and you can go in there and update the physical properties of either your entire assembly or of your part. All right, and you can update it or maybe save that out as something else. Okay, I'm going to hit close. We do have access to Design Manager on the Data Management tab. We're not going to get into that today. Maybe that'll be another video sometime soon. And then we do have this one-step workflow. So this is going to review and change the document status with this one button. So if I actually come into this one-step workflow, right now I'm set to quick release. Maybe I name this workflow title updated length. And for the description, I'm just going to actually leave in that file name and those document numbers, the revision. And I can say down here in the bottom for the workflow settings, I can include the drawing as well as update the drawing. I can also generate an assembly report or a parts list. And then it's going to say approved document status will be changed to released. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start. So documents are approved and status is set for release. For more information, click view log. So if I actually click on this view log, what it's going to do is it's going to open up this Excel file. And I'm going to show you what's in here. All right. Okay. So this is my workflow title, updated length, workflow description. Okay, and then these are all of my file names, along with my file status. We can see that this grinder 1-A assembly is now considered obsolete because I updated it to Rev B. Okay, and we can see the old path as well as the new path. So we can actually see that this is going to go, this specific one that's obsolete because it's the -A is in the obsolete folder. But any of these other released files are actually in the Vault released folder. We can see over here it's either success or failure, or if it has an error. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to go ahead and save that out. I'm going to say OK. So now what I can do is I can actually go back into my Windows. I'm going to back out of my search. And if I go into my released folder, I'm just going to go to my data prep tool, training. Here are all my released documents, and here you can see that grinder 1-B assembly that I just released and all of the parts that are released with it. Okay. If we want to see the status of it, again, we can add more columns. So I'm going to go to more after I right click. I'm going to say SE status, SE workflow history, SE workflow reviewer, SE workflow title, and click OK. And now we can see that on this SE status that this is released. Okay, we do have SE workflow history where we can see that there's a comment in there. All right. And then we can also see the workflow type, so updated length. Okay, perfect. It looks good. So while working in the data management tool, we did kind of touch on the life cycle of our data. We showed that when we went back into the Windows Explorer when we looked at, the released folder. If we go back to the CAD data and we actually go to the obsolete folder, we can see here that my grinder 1-A assembly is considered obsolete. That's why it's in there. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually open up that grinder 1-B assembly again. And we're going to look at how it's changed a little bit. So opening it back up, the first thing you should notice is this giant read-only assistant right here. Okay, so we can request the checkout. We can either save this as a different file name or revise it. Okay, but it is released and it is set to read-only. So we do still have a couple functions on our data management tab that we can use, but for the most part, like we can't check this in and out, which is very important, and we can't release this in our workflow. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to revise it again. Okay. So even now, if we look over in our Pathfinder, we can see that our grinder 1-C, since it's been revised, is available. But if we actually look at all of the parts that are within this assembly file, these are released still. Okay, so it's very important to get an understanding of the life cycle of your data and the best and most efficient way of how your company can implement this built-in data management tool. Thank you. I'm Grace Pharo, and I hope you have a great day.